Hello, everybody. I am so excited to introduce you to how I use Notion as a writer. This could easily be a several-hour video, so in the interest of keeping this to a reasonable length, it's going to be more of just an overview of how I use it, but definitely subscribe and comment. Let me know down below if you want to see a more in-detail look into each of these sections in my writing journal. And if you're interested in seeing this, just stay tuned. Okay, so if you're sitting here like, Sarah, I have no idea what Notion is. It's basically a application. It's something that you can get both web-based and as an app, and it's really powerful and flexible. So it's made up of blocks or little components. And basically when you get started with Notion, none of this exists. It's mostly blank. Now they do have, if you look down here, they do have templates that you can use. So you can search for templates. You can go like, oh, I really want to add a habit tracker. So you can use some of their templates. You can also get templates from other users, other people that have created them, but you can also just set it up yourself. And there are tons of videos here on YouTube with people that have done just that and really customized it. But I will say this about Notion. Because it is so flexible and open and you can do so many different things, it can feel a little bit overwhelming at first to figure out how you want to set it up. I even had to go in and kind of sketch out an idea of what I wanted because I started to feel a little bit overwhelmed with it. So my biggest tips for you are watch tutorials, really sit and think about what is it you want, what type of information is it you want, because you can add databases, spreadsheets, you can embed images, you can embed Google Docs. There's tons of stuff that you can do here. So stop and think like, what is it I really want to use Notion for? There are tons of inspirational videos about project management, book journals, all that kind of stuff. So what I'm going to introduce you to today is basically how I use it in my life. Now, this is something that I use as both a workspace and collaborative space with my online marketing manager / assistant Janet, and she has basically been responsible for setting up this entire workspace. So you can see we have kind of a home base or a dashboard that links out to all these other databases that we have. So this would take a lot of time to go into how all of this works, but basically the dashboard tells you everything you need to know. We track all our tasks and stats, any administrative duties or passwords and things like that. And then see, because I have two sides to my business, I have the reader side and then I have the author serving side. So I have two YouTube channels, two businesses, I have courses, a lot of things going on. So we keep them all kind of separate here. And while we do have individual sections on the side, they are also linked here so that we have easy access to them. So for example, my Heart Breathing's content calendar is a database here that has a list of all the videos that I have created. And we can put the status here that this one's completed, or as you can see up here at the top, the Notion video that I'm making is currently filming. And then when I'm done with it, I can say that it's ready for blog post and newsletter, and I can assign this to Janet instead. So it's a pretty powerful collaborative like project management thing. And then once it's published, we can check off that it's been published and then add the URL or any other notes. Then inside each of these, we also have lots of information like my outline. We sometimes discuss things here and we can tag each other. We have the thumbnail. We have a task list for all the things that need to be done. So there's lots of information here that I don't really want to go into because I want to keep this to the writing journal itself. But just know that we do use this it's pretty beefy when it comes to task lists and project management. But in my private space, that Janet can't actually see this, but I could actually just move it up if I want her to be able to see it and collaborate with me. I have two things. I have a writing journal and a tarot journal. So I'm going to focus on my writing journal here. So isn't it pretty? Like I said, you start off with basically nothing. It's just basically white space. And so you can create it kind of to look and be customized to whatever you want. Now, to create a lot of these images with my book covers or these different headers for the writing journal, I have used Canva. So you can see over here in Canva, I have just used the YouTube template for that size, and I've just created these images for each month. And then when I create the page, all I have to do is put that month image there as the first item. in this page, and it shows up now as the header for this gallery view. So basically what I have inside the writing journal is Sarah Cannon Books, which lists all of my series. So this is a database that has all of my series listed and different information on each of my books. I have a writing journal where I can track how many words I've been writing. I can actually journal in here about how the writing's going. I can see at a glance how many words, how many sprints I did, what I'm doing with the process, and I even have Kanban boards inside here. So I'll show you that in a minute. This word count tracker is actually kind of tied to the writing journal. Then I have a section for new ideas or plot bunnies, and this is all my series ideas. It's actually not even all of them, but these are the ones that I'm taking the most seriously so that I can keep track of all my ideas here in one space. And then I also have plotting templates. Now this I want to add to, but I currently only have one, and this is by my friend Gwen Hayes, who wrote a book that's amazing if you're writing romance called Romancing the Beat. So this is basically a way to plot romance based on the 3-act structure. So you have Act 1 here, Act 2, Part 1, the second half of Act 2, and then Act 3. And I want to set something up very similar to this. This is kind of how I have my note card set up. I want to set up something like this for my How to Plot Your Novel workbook. So I'm going to use this kind of as an idea or a template for how to create my own. But for now, this is Gwen's template, so I can't take credit for that. And then over here on the side, I just have some pretty GIFs that just make me feel good, because if you've been around here for a while, you know that I just like pretty things, and it makes me more motivated to use something if I enjoy looking at it. So again, I'm not going to do a full tutorial or anything. I'm just going to walk you through, but if you want to see more of a tutorial style of how I set this up, please make sure that you comment, like, and subscribe and let me know that you're interested. So in this Sarah Cannon Books section, I have, as you can see, each of my series in basically a gallery view. When I click on one of these series, like my Shadow Demon Saga, it shows you that cover image. Then I also have set in here a place called Books. And what you'll notice as I'm going through this is that in my Q1 current Kanban board list, I just wanted to set Notion up, but everything isn't actually filled in. So that's part of my Q2 plan. And if you know me, you know that I don't take on things that aren't in my plan unless absolutely necessary. So this is something that is a work in progress and will be filled out more as we go, but I set this up so that you could see. So what I intend to have is under this published section, I want to have a page for each book in my series. This will be all the ones that are published, which is all the ones you see here except Vengeful Darkness. This one is yet to be written, and there will be another one as well that still needs to be written, which will be book 12 of the series. When you click on a link here, it's actually a page. So one of the cool things that you will find about Notion is that you have basically, it works kind of like nesting dolls or like a wiki would work, that you can have a page here. Like I have this main dashboard, and on that dashboard, I open this page. Then on this page, I have multiple other pages linked like this one. And inside this page, I have multiple databases and links. So it's pretty cool in the way I think of it like nesting dolls, that you can have pages and databases inside other pages and databases. And it's really, really cool. So this is my Vengeful Darkness dashboard. And I plan to make one of these for each book that I'm working on in the future. And you can add a cute little icon. Because I am currently writing this book, I have this little hand with a pen. You can add your own cover here, and you can just make that in Canva again. Then to create this little section, I made a header with a purple background that just says Vengeful Darkness Tasks. And then how cool is this little section right here? You may recognize this as a Kanban board. So if you've been around on my channel for a while, you know that I am a super visual person, and I use a Kanban board for my HB90 method, which is basically to set up 3 main goals every quarter and then separate those goals into manageable projects and break those projects down into bite-sized tasks. And I take time into consideration, joy, my vision for my life, all of that into consideration. And I love that Kanban board. But sometimes it gets to be where there are just too many sticky notes to fill out and put them on the board. So I'm hoping to use Notion in conjunction with that Kanban board. And it's so cool that inside Notion, you can actually create a Kanban. So basically all you have to do is you can add, so I can click this to add a block underneath, and I can click /board, and I could either create a Kanban board inline, like on this page, like I've done here, or I could create a full page Kanban board. So that's how I created this basically. And I'm going to delete that since I don't actually need it. In the Kanban board itself, you give it a title, and then you start adding cards. These are basically the equivalent to your sticky notes. You have no status, which means it hasn't been assigned a status yet. You have not started, in progress, and completed. So you could have to do, doing, and done. You could change this to need to work on, currently working on, done, heck yeah, whatever. You can change those titles to whatever you want them to be. You can also change the color of the background if you'd like to change that. Then you create a card. You just click new, and then you create a card that could be pretty much anything. You could even say that you got to 1,000 words and then create one for 2,000 words, and so on, if you wanted to get that granular with your tasks. And then every day when you sit down to work, you can choose what you want to finish. So for example, if I finished Harper's character sheet, I could just drag it over to the completed section. And hopefully within my allotted time frame, all of these things would be moved to complete, and I would feel very proud of myself. Now, what's cool about this is on a traditional Kanban board, if you're using small sticky notes, you can't really leave a lot of notes for yourself about what that task entails. On Notion, however, you can put databases inside your card. So let's look at print plotting sheets. So I have a set of plotting sheets called Plot Your Novel that many of you are familiar with. I have a whole series on YouTube about these plotting sheets and how I fill them out. And I always print them out when I'm getting ready to write a new book. So I added this little icon of a printer, and I have it as completed, obviously, because it's in that section. And I could add, so I added a property here that is a date, and I can give myself a due date for each one of these sticky notes. I can give myself a due date. Then I can also leave myself notes, like I need to print 4 copies because I have 4 points of view. And then this part is really cool because I have actually connected this to my Google Drive. So I can click /embed, and then it opens up this little section for me to add in, plot your novel. So I can actually navigate to like my series planner or my writing planner, and I can embed it here so that when I actually go, let's say that this was not finished yet and it was in progress, and I go to click on it this morning, I don't have to go searching my Google Drive for this Plot Your Novel workbook. I just click here on the embedded file and I can print it from there. So how cool is that? If I wanted to, I could also take something like Plot Act 1, and I could create a database here for how many sprints I thought it would take me to plot Act 1, and then I could track them here. I could track how much time I spent if I wanted to track that. There's literally endless options to what you can do. The danger there, of course, is that you end up wasting too much time setting up Notion. So I've got a Kanban board here for the tasks, and then I also have a writing journal. Now this writing journal is actually the same one that you find on this section with the pretty images, but it's created kind of in a different way. So let me show you down here. So I have the writing journal, and then I have each month. If I click on March, you can see I've got the image here. I also have a list of what book I'm working on, what series, which book, what writing stages I'm planning to work on throughout the month, what my goal is for the month, and how many words I've written. Now, Notion does not create these, like they don't have a property called series, but all you have to do is click add a property and then create it yourself. So you could say it's a date, or it's a select one where you can select out of many options, or multi-select means like here you can choose several options. So you can create your own properties here and really customize it. Then down below, I have a word count tracker database embedded into this page. And the way that I'm using this and the journal is kind of as a daily writing journal. Now, this is an idea that I got from my friend Ines Johnson, who keeps track of how many words she writes on her monthly view in her paper calendar. And she puts like gold stars, and she puts 1 gold star for every 500 words. So shout out to Ines. You're amazing and you're inspirational. And thank you for sharing that with us. I wanted to do something similar, but keep it color coded. So in my actual physical plotting planner, this particular book, Vengeful Darkness, is a purple circle. And that's how I'm using it in my actual planner. So I want to use the same thing here. So you can see here at a glance on the calendar that on March 8th, I'm using this little icon of the notepad to indicate that I was taking notes or doing brainstorming. And you can see that I did 4 sprints. If you click on this, it's actually going to tell you that I was plotting, the date, how many minutes I spent, and what book I was working on. I tag it with the month because that makes it easier for a different view that I'm working on. I can also leave myself notes kind of like a journal that I worked on Harper's point of view and it was coming together really fast. Then I can leave myself notes, like I left off with the scene where Harper does this, and tomorrow I want to start with the scene where Jackson does this. So I can leave myself little notes about how I want to proceed tomorrow so that when I sit down to write the following day, I can review those notes and then start writing. Same thing for the 9th, I can always look back. And this is one of the reasons I like the idea of actually using Notion instead of just using my physical plotting planner, because there's only so much paper you can keep for years and years. And I wish that I had all of this backlog of data of how long it took me to write each book, how each writing day went. It's such a wealth of information that is much harder to track on paper, as much as I love paper. So for example, here I could leave myself a note. I was plotting for 60 minutes. I wrote this many words in my notes, and I could say I spent 60 beautiful minutes in the sun with my Kindle reading back through Deceiving Darkness. I'm so happy to be in this world. I'm behind where I want to be, etc. So I can leave my mood, I can leave all this stuff. And actually, if I wanted to, I could open this as its own page, or I could have it in that other view. Now, let's say I sit down tomorrow and I want to write again. I would just add that same icon. It auto populates, but I'm going to say that I'm still plotting. So I'm going to use this little notepad, and then I'm going to give it that same purple circle. So I'm going to say, let's say I wrote 4 or 5 writing sprints that day. My writing stage, let's say I was already starting to draft and I spent, let's say 120 minutes writing. I could label it as Vengeful Darkness, tag it with the month, and then let's say that I wrote 2341 words. So easily I could fill that out every single day. And then when I go back to that monthly view, I can see how many words I wrote. Now, because I put 5 in, it's not going to show it on this smaller calendar, but when I open it as a page, it's going to be big enough to show it here. So it's just going to be a matter of kind of like playing around with that if you want. And then if I realize, oh my gosh, I put it on the wrong day, I could actually move it to a different day, or I could say it went across multiple days. So there's lots of really cool information that you can see on this. And then I've got it as at a glance, right? But let's say I also want to be able to add up all of my word count that I have so far for the month. I can go to table view here instead, and where it says minutes spent, I can calculate the sum. And it's going to tell me how many minutes I spent. And then over here where it comes to words, I can calculate the sum here, and I can see that my monthly total for March so far has been 6173. And what I could is I could embed this twice as a calendar view and as a table view, but it's pretty cool that you can really play around with Notion as much as you want. Now, I do have this filtered because it's on the March page. I have it set up with a filter that uses a tag that contains March. Because if I took this filter out, let's say I delete this filter, what it's going to do is it's going to come back out and show me, let me just refresh that real quick. It's going to show me all of my entries so far. So even when I was working on Fate Surrender, but because I'm in my March journal, I don't want to see those other months. So what you do in that case is you just click these 3 dots and you click filter. And that's why I have that tag on here for March, because it just makes it kind of easier. Like I'm saying, I'm not necessarily the person that is going to be best for giving you tutorials, but for me, this works that it's a March tag, and I could even hide this tag if I wanted to, so that you wouldn't see it, but it would still work for the filter. So I think this is pretty cool. Then it gives me a good idea of how many days I spent plotting, how many words I wrote this month, what the sum is. So this will help me keep on track, and I just think it is really cool. Now over here with the writing journal, all I have is just that what my goal is, finished plotting and getting 40,000 words. So it just shows me kind of what my goal is versus what I actually have written so far. So that is basically the main setup of my writing journal. And you've got the series where I hope to fill in all the books. And eventually, so like I said, down here, we go to the Vengeful Darkness page. I've got this Kanban board, but like I said, I also have this thing here. On this page, I have it filtered where the project is Vengeful Darkness. So I haven't set it to being a March tag. Instead, here I've filtered it for Vengeful Darkness since I'm on the Vengeful Darkness page, but on the March page, I've filtered it for March. But this is the same database either way. It's the same one-time setup. And when I change it or add something here, it's also adding it to that March journal. And that is the beauty of it, is it sort of works as interlinking database or linked databases. And that is what makes it so flexible and cool. And again, I could put a calculation sum here so that I can see on this page how many words I've written so far as well. So basically, eventually I do want to have this kind of thing set up for all my books, like the metadata and things like that. And then books in the future, I want to have the writing journal added to it so that I can see how many sprints. And I'm hoping that having this sort of daily accountability of coming in every day to update this is really going to help me. And as you can see, even on this word count tracker, I can open this as a page and I can see that journal entry again. So you could see it on, well, I didn't make one there, but here I had one. I can make that journal entry and I can see it on the calendar view that you guys saw from before. Like here we have the calendar view. So you can see it here. That's the same exact page that we just went to. So those databases are linked and it makes it so much easier to see it in multiple places. But that is an overview of everything I have. I have that series page, the writing journal, my word count goals, and then I have a place for plot bunnies and new ideas and plotting templates. And if you guys want to see me flesh this out and how I use it over time, or if you'd like to see a more detailed tutorial of like starting from scratch, how did I set this up with the GIFs and the multiple columns and everything else, and you want to see me set up like another sample writing journal, let me know and I can set that up for you. It'll probably be a little bit of a long video, but hopefully you enjoyed this more sort of overview cursory look at Notion. It is really cool. And one thing I love, even though this is just a simple thing, is like here I get a chance to put in an emoji, but I can upload my own image. So for example, that purple circle that you guys see on this calendar, this is not something that is in Notion as an emoji, but I can copy and paste this in or I can upload it. And when I had my branding done from Najla Kwamber, she gave me this little PNG of the crystals and one of the roses and one of the moon and so forth. And so I can just use that and upload it myself. Now, when I'm on this page, you can't really see it in this view, but this little icon is actually at the top of my Chrome. And it's just little things like that, little details like that really make a difference in how much I want to use Notion and how much I enjoy it. And I think that hopefully this will be a little bit of an inspiration for you. I've asked about using Notion as a wiki, and they do claim that they have wiki capabilities, but I have to say that after doing some research, Janet helped me with this as well. I don't feel like Notion is going to work for a multiple like 12, 15 book wiki. For one main reason, because the search functions in the linked databases is not enough for me. So there are ways that you could do like a master tag database, or you could have a basic wiki that had was basically like a spreadsheet. So if you have a pretty simple story world that you're just trying to keep track of characters and their eye color, this would be great because you could set up a similar type of thing to what I have here in this type of database here, where you could have character, and then when you open it up, it's got got their page of their eye color and everything else. But the problem that I have with Notion is that I can't search this entire database, like every single thing. I'm probably going to play around with it, but just when I was doing a quick view of it, it just didn't seem like it was going to work as well in terms of the search functionality as my PBWorks private wiki does. But I will update you guys on that in the future because I'm always looking for something that I can make look better and prettier and be more functional. So I'm not saying it won't work for a series Bible because I'm sure that lots of people do use it for that way, but my series worlds are, sometimes 1 million to 1.5 million words. And there's a lot of story world in terms of magic systems and things like that. And so far, I haven't been able to recreate what I need to create inside Notion to where I can search effectively just inside that one series. So I don't know that it's going to work for my needs, but if you have any references or resources of how to use Notion for a wiki for Story World, let me know. Otherwise, I'm actually going to be looking into Campfire Blaze. So as I work on that in Q2, I will do a full review of that site or program as well. So make sure you're subscribed so that you don't miss it. Now, if you are interested in hearing more about how I do my own Kanban board, and not just digitally, but how I actually set my goals for the quarter and break those goals down into projects and tasks based on a realistic view of how much time I have, I would love for you to join my HB90 method course. It is truly a life-changing course, and it can really help you get your time under control, your to-do list under control. We start on Sunday. So if you're watching this video beforehand, we start on Sunday, but registration closes at midnight on Saturday. I would love to have you join us. This is your last chance to join before summer, so come join us. It's going to be awesome. Also, I wanted to let you know that if you just cannot do digital and you really want to see how I've set up something similar, not the Kanban board, but something similar to this word count tracker in my paper planner, definitely come back this weekend because I'm going to be walking you through my new Happy Planner plotting notebook. So that will be either Saturday or Sunday that video will go up, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of those notifications. If you enjoyed this and you're curious about using Notion for yourself, I wanted to bring up this pricing page. So for most people, this personal one has unlimited pages and blocks, and a block is basically like that database or a to-do list or, whatever, an embedded file. And now you get unlimited. They used to limit, I think, for the trial. Yeah, it still says you're limited to 1,000 for the trial for when you have a team. But if you're personal, you can unlimited use it. Then you also can get a personal pro one where you have more guests and people that you can invite to do it with you. Now, I use the team one, which is $16 a month because we have 2 users, because I need that collaborative workspace. So if you're trying to use this for like business and you want to collaborate with an assistant, you're going to probably need this team version. But for most people, you can get away with the free one. If you want to pay per month, the price goes up a little bit instead of paying for the whole year, but not too much. I think it's pretty reasonable. Please comment and leave a little thumbs up on this video so that other viewers know it was a good one and that you enjoyed it. Okay, guys, I'll see you next time. Bye.